Hey, what's up, y'all? Back again with another video. I hope you guys are all doing well, taking care of yourself, eating foods that resonate with you, and staying hydrated. So I have had videos talking about narcissists and how to deal with people in general, because that is one of the challenges, is working with people, being around family members, and even partnerships. It is a challenge. But my goal is to speak about how you can maintain yourself around certain types of people, because at the end of the day, honestly, you have the ultimate control and the power, and we don't want to continue to play victim. It's okay to hurt for the things that people have done, but before you've met these people, think about it, especially when you have like certain friendships, you're at work, you're out and about, grocery stores and stuff like that. There's always been a little fear that was already inside of you. You know, people talk about how energy can deplete you, or someone is depleting you. But we have to be honest with ourselves that the fact that that you were already depleted before you even met that person, and then you met that individual that somewhat showed up in your life to disrupt you even more. And it may appear as though that individual is depleting you. It just tipped the scales basically in the energy that you already had within. This isn't 100% true that we attract our personal trauma, because there's a lot of people who have been doing the work. They understand energy, they know who they are, they have a huge amount of self-awareness, and they have a track record of the things that they've gone through. Like, they've been through a lot in their life, right? So for the most part, those individuals are very much so stable-minded. You know, they can overcome things because they've just been doing the work. And that's okay. We're all at different, levels in our life. And so, so that's why I say that I don't always agree that, people are a reflection of you. To some degree, yes. But on another hand, I'm talking about just dealing with your own personal trauma to where you are you're not scared of who you are. You're not scared of what you're capable of. You're not scared of your own power that you have within you. So a lot of people are scared of their own power within them, which allows others to walk all over them because they may not stand up for themselves, or they feel like they don't have a place in this world, or the things that they pay attention to, they feel like it's important. If they don't, if they feel like they are not good enough in this world, then that is going to reflect onto them about how they feel that they're not successful. So with people who do that, they're constantly beating themselves up all the time. And I've been there as well. And I have to make a conscious decision whenever there's something happening at work between me and another person, to not beat myself up and be aware of that. Because as humans, you can easily do that because they've taught you to punish yourself. And even when you were younger, what happens when you got in trouble? Most of us were not nurtured when we did something and we were punished to be made feel like we are not good enough, or we are not allowed to have an explanation of why you're getting in trouble. So when you're younger, they just punish you. I know I've experienced that, and I'm sure plenty of you guys who also experience that as well. So you walk around on this planet Earth as if something is wrong with you, that you're a sinner. That's another thing that they told people, is that you're a sinner, you're impure, you are the devil, So they're already telling you how bad of a person you are before you can even walk, So all these things have been embedded into us to make us feel like you're not good enough, that you're not capable and competent to be successful. Also, there's a lot of insecurity. A lot of times, we'll be at certain jobs and stuff like that, and people will talk down to you because they have a superiority complex and they don't even realize that they're doing it. And hide behind, oh, I'm just helping you. Oh, I'm just trying to show you. But it's the energy that they're holding that is implying that you are not smart or you don't know what you're doing. I've experienced that as well. So before you get out into the world, you got to prepare yourself. You got to start preparing yourself and dealing with all your traumas within you. And that is accepting every area of who you are. The more that you accept who you are, the less that people can fuck with you. The less that people can fuck with you. Every single person on this planet Earth is not perfect. And a lot of people pretend that they are perfect and they are not. And so that's the facade that a lot of individuals play, is that they are perfect, they know what they're doing in life, and that's not true. A lot of people hide behind their careers, their money, their cars, and this is not to say that people that have nice things, that they don't have this modesty with them. They do. There are some people who are very modest with these, material things. But people, they get so much into their ego and want to put others down. And they like that feeling of feeling like they are above someone. And so they didn't really prepare us for this life, for us to deal with different energies, how people are, other people's traumas. They prepared us of how to add and to learn about history and all this stuff. They didn't talk about credit, the important things that we really truly needed to learn when we got out into the real world. It's almost like what we learned kind of like failed us in a way. And this is not to blame anybody or anything, but this is what has been created. And so now a lot of us are trying to undo a lot of the things that we have been taught and have been shown. And every one of you who's watching this video has the capability to reverse your mindset into a different belief of how you look at yourself and also how you handle certain situations. When you are in that mindset of feeling like you're not good enough and you're insecure, that can be projected out into the world and people will pick up onto it. It's almost like a little signal that goes off, an invisible signal that goes off into the world when you're out and about, and people will be drawn to you that are on the same wavelength. People will try to test you and try to provoke you. I know you guys have been around people who try to compete with you and try to provoke you. And it doesn't feel good because, like for myself, I always thought that I was supposed to prove that I'm not that thing that they're trying to tell me that I am. And so what would happen is that it would just add on to that energy and I would receive more of it, not knowing anything about spirituality or energy. And so because of me participating in that energy, thinking that I am doing the right thing, it was actually making it worse, So that one person that was trying to provoke you at a job or a grocery store, you may not be in the right stance to be reactive to that situation. And then you end up finding more people that are trying to provoke you on top of that. Or you're at a workspace and you're around an individual who's trying to compete with you, trying to make it seem like they're better or they're smarter. They're trying to provoke you or make you look bad. All these little games that people play. And, you feel like you got to jump in this energy that you have to prove and compete. Now you feel like you got to get in this energy that you have to prove something. And then it leads into competition. And then it leads into like scapegoating you. Then it can lead into triangulation and gossip, to making you look a certain way to people around you, so you won't be successful. At times, people want to cloud your mind and get you off task so that they can appear better. And that's where you are doing the work and transmuting energy in those moments. And people want to feed like that because they feel a certain type of way in their life about who they are. They don't feel good about themselves. So they want to find someone that may appear weak. So that's why I say you got to get to the root of your traumas. You guys are going to find your own way of how you deal with trauma. I don't always like to go out and find people to see where I'm at in my growth, because I don't think that's fair to other people, especially like in a relationship. If you like someone and you're trying to find someone to date, you know, they always say relationships help you show you yourself, like they're a mirror to you. You don't always want to use people to basically see where you are at in your own personal growth. You want to be your own authority of where you are at in your own growth. You want to govern yourself, you know, so that's taking more accountability for what you attract. And it opens your eyes more about yourself and having more self-awareness, you know. And so you got to know yourself, you got to know your foundation of who you are. So all of this is about knowing thyself, because when you're around these people, you got to be the strongest person in the room mentally. And when you're coming up against these energies that people, you know, they're psychically attacking you on spot, they're trying to diminish you or make you look bad on spot, especially at a job. We all work jobs, a lot of us. And you got to transmute those energies on spot. And you want to get to a point where you are not proving yourself to individuals. And you don't have to prove yourself. You prove yourself as much as you need to. And then you'll get to a point where it will just start to change, and you'll start to see that trying to prove yourself does not work. When you are in a trauma state, if you're still dealing with trauma within you, if you're still triggered by certain things, you know, and we all go through it, it just gets less and less and less the more that you start to understand who you are and what to react to and what not to. So when you get to that point where you're like, just someone is trying to devalue you or trying to make you look bad or compete with you, it will work out the more that you surrender to your own personal ego, to your own trauma right on spot. Surrender to your own ego of wanting to prove something, because most of the time that does not work. When it does work is when you've cleared that trauma of competing and judging and trying to make someone look bad. You know, you don't want to match that with that individual. It only gets worse. And like I said before, I was acting in that energy thinking that that's how I'm supposed to do and be and compete with these other people. And I noticed that it just knocked me off of my focus, because I'm like, everybody else is doing it. And this is what I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. And this is how this world works. So, you know, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know any better back then. So now becoming into my spiritual self and knowing who I am, you're actually more powerful than you think. And then on top of that, if you're dealing with men that are in their ego, you can crush that. You don't have to participate in that energy. You bring love in front of you to participate with that type of ego, and it will collapse. And that person and that individual will have to deal with their own mind, because you're bringing love to the forefront. Even if you make a mistake and then that individual is there and they're trying to make you look bad in front of other people, you still bring love for yourself of making a mistake right then and there. And you don't get into that feeling of, you don't have to get into that feeling like you're a horrible person, that everybody makes mistakes. I don't care how perfect they are or whatever the case may be. We're all human. We all make mistakes. Even if you don't see that they make mistakes, they make mistakes. None of us are perfect beings. All of us have had insecurities, some more than others, but we've all dealt with that feeling of insecurity and fear. So what you want to do, you have to get to a point where you surrender to your ego in that moment that you made a mistake, because you don't want to look bad in front of people, and you transmute it with love. You bring love to the forefront. I'm telling you, it works. That is the highest vibration that you can tap into in those scenarios. You don't go beating yourself up and then on top of that start competing to try to prove to them that you're actually good at whatever you're doing, in that space. Let them compete with themselves, because obviously they're fighting with themselves. You don't want to sit there and start fighting with you and their mindset. Now their mindset is merging into yours. So you want to hold your mindset of what you know is true to who you are as an individual. And that is having self-awareness. And this takes practice. These people out here, they want to throw you off if they are intimidated by you, if they see you as a threat. And it's like, the thing is that no one's a threat. We all have our own light. We're all tapped in. We all have the possibility of, we all have the source of God there. And so you don't have to be intimidated by anyone, no man, no woman, dealing with these people out in the world. You put love to the forefront and it works every time. But you got to love yourself enough to where you know what's going on around you, and it's not worth participating in those energies anymore. It's not worth it anymore. You learned your lessons of trying to prove to others and to prove other people that you are a good employee, that you are actually a good person. You don't have to, prove that. You already are that. And you don't have to carry the weight of the world and the weight of people's thoughts in your mind, because a lot of you guys are psychic and can tell and know what people are thinking and what their next move is going to be. A lot of these people that don't feel really good about themselves, they're very predictable of how they move. We know that there's people out here that don't mean well. We know that people hide and try to act like they're kind, and they're actually dismissive and condescending behind their quote unquote kindness, and that they're trying to just help, but they're actually being demeaning. And it. So because you know that these energies are out here, you can't be surprised that it's happening, and that this is what individuals think that you need to do to survive in this world, and you actually don't. Love outweighs all of this shit. Absolutely. Love outweighs all of it. But you got to love yourself immensely, beyond anybody's thoughts of you, beyond how somebody looks at you, beyond any mistake that you make, beyond anything. You got to love yourself the most, because they want something to feed off of. They're hungry for the drama. They want to feed their drama bone. Don't fall for it. And if you fall for it, you can always redeem yourself after that situation, and you don't want to ruminate over you and that individual. The reason why you're ruminating is because the mind is trying to find a solution to the problem. It's trying to find a comeback. It's trying to find, what you did wrong. And the only thing is that you reacted to the situation, and all you have to do is not respond. And I say that silence is one of the most powerful things that you can do, because when you're talking, you really can't see much of what's really going on. And this is not to say to not be involved or not respond. There's a healthy balance. But the more that you slow down, you're able to recognize what to respond to. And this is why I say meditation is one powerful thing that you can definitely tap into to be able to slow down your nervous system, to slow down your thoughts, that you actually have power over these thoughts, that these thoughts are not necessarily good or bad. And it's not to be fearful of these thoughts or startled by these scary, fearful thoughts. It's not about that. And so you have the power to look at them and not be so attached to them, and break that contract of that thought that you thought that was yours, because at the end of the day, we are nothing. So why let someone overpower you? You're not a less powerful being just because externally this individual has A, B, and C, and D, or they're good at their job, or blah, 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 blah. You're still a powerful spirit. So you don't have to jump into everybody's mindset. And this is what I talked about, as well as like having misplaced compassion and empathy with people, and kind of like giving your energy to that individual, and then they get that energy. Because if they can send psychic attacks and you could send them good energy because you're feeling pity for them and they're actually coming from you, they have their own agenda. A lot of people have their own agendas about you, and you got to have your own agenda about yourself first before anybody creates an agenda for you. So if they can send you psychic attacks, what made you think if you send them love and it's misplaced compassion, and they have this whole agenda behind them that they are trying to use their empathy against you, and you miss it and you give that energy to them, and they would just walk off, and you don't have any room to even give them that compassion, and they walk off and they do an energy swap with you, and now you are the one that's depleted because it was misplaced empathy and compassion, because they had a whole agenda to begin with to trigger you, to make you look bad because they're intimidated by you. And so you got to be the bigger spirit and the bigger person. This is where they're talking about being the bigger person comes into play, and why it's so crucial to be a bigger person in these situations. And it's because, people say, oh, I don't want to be the bigger person, but that it can be your ego getting in the way. You got to know when to speak. You got to know where you're at in your own personal trauma growth. If you're still working through trauma, it's best to stay silent. It's best to stay unresponsive. It's best to walk away. You want to do the most neutral thing in that situation and let those people win. Let them eat themselves up alive. You think that they're winning, they're actually not. You're the one who's actually winning. And it's not about win or lose, but I'm just using these terms. You're actually doing the real growth here, So that's going to take you further than trying to compete and prove to these people that you are who you are. And it'll keep you there longer. It'll keep those relationships going, because it is a form of a relationship. And so if you don't want that relationship, you don't have to participate in that energy. There's nothing to prove. Even if you have 10, 15 people that are in that environment that are seeing everything that's going on, you got to override what you think they're going to think about you, or how they're going to, perceive you, or how, whatever. Don't even think about any of that. You be in that present moment, in that space, right then and there. That shows the true power of who you are. You're not scared. Don't be fearful of these people. Don't be scared of these people. Don't be scared of life. Like, you're more powerful than you think. And that is the problem, is that, of thinking that you're not as powerful as you think, and that you're not protected. What keeps that protection is that love that's there. You transmute that shit right then and there. But you got to get over the hump of the traumas that you personally have. That is what the shadow work is. Don't be in denial about where you're at emotionally. Don't be in denial of the trauma work that you still have to work on, because the denial is just prolonging it, and it's prolonging you continuously meeting the same types of people that are triggering it. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I will be back again with another video. Peace.